Yo, what is up guys, it's Ghost here, welcome back to another video. So of course over the past few days, the Battlefield news has really been dominated by the release of Season 7, lots of great content coming around the corner, but a lot of us have probably forgotten about the strange drama that has been underlying over at EA for the past few weeks, and that is of course the departure of Battlefield director Marcus Leto, and then subsequently the shutting down of his studio Ridgeline Games, followed by the departure of creative director Craig Morrison. So this of course led to a lot of speculation. Why are these important figures over at EA and DICE leaving the studio? What is going on? And just yesterday, Marcus Leto had some pretty stern words for EA that I think really encapsulates the way that he feels about his departure. But first of all, for anybody who isn't clued into this whole story that's been developing, let's rewind a second here and go over what's happened. So Marcus Leto, he was heading up one of EA's new studios, Ridgeline Games, that were working on the campaign for the next Battlefield game. He is the co-creator of the Halo universe, and so EA hired him probably to bring something new to the franchise, some new creative insights, and to see where he could take the next game in terms of the campaign. That was about 2 years ago, and then one day a couple of weeks ago we noticed on his LinkedIn that he had seemingly stopped working at EA, and sure enough, a couple of days after that, he put out this tweet here saying, "Yes, I left EA on my own accord. This was a very rough decision for me to make. I want to thank the Battlefield community for allowing me to listen to you while I was able. Your feedback will help make Battlefield stronger. I wish the teams at EA all the best moving forward." But then he also made an additional comment on this tweet here saying, "In the meantime, I will be taking time away from games to see what, if anything, I want to do next." And that sort of gave us the feeling that his departure from EA wasn't entirely an amicable one. Now the next thing that happens, EA announced that they are letting go of 5% of their global workforce, including the shutting down of Ridgeline Studios. And Laura Miele, the new president of EA, she said, "To ensure that our work continues uninterrupted, we immediately appointed leadership at Criterion to oversee our single-player work. As part of this change, we'll be winding down Ridgeline as a standalone studio in Seattle, with some team members joining Ripple Effect." So some of the people at Ridgeline have been sent over to Ripple Effect Studios. Those are the same people who are now working on some sort of a standalone Battlefield experience, the same people that worked on Portal for Battlefield 2042, and all of the campaign work that they've been working on has now been handed over to Criterion Games. So already things are sounding a little bit rocky there as soon as you have to outsource a project to a completely different company, even though they are still working on the Battlefield franchise. And then of course, about a week ago, this was followed up by Craig Morrison. He was the studio creative director, the guy who took over from Lars Gustafsson, Mr. Battlefield himself, a little over just a year ago over at DICE. He has already left to go and open some new startup games development company, presumably with some friends or some acquaintances. So to me, this sort of starts to set off alarm bells in people's minds. And then, just yesterday, Marcus Leto said this over on his Twitter. "Not been saying much here, since I don't have anything positive to say about EA. My recent departure, and how so many, including my team, are suffering due to the industry sweeping layoffs." So that is very worrying stuff for me when I read this. This confirms that it wasn't just a regular layoff. I mean, if you get laid off by a big company like that and you're part of the 5%, okay, it sucks. It always sucks being laid off, but you shouldn't really take it personally because it just comes down to numbers and finances. But this really spells out that Marcus Leto has had some sort of personal falling out with EA or with the higher-ups there, which really worries me because Vince Zampella came in here. He got Marcus Leto on board, they opened up all of these studios and got everybody involved, and it sounded like they were putting together the dream team. They used a lot of marketing jargon, like saying things like, "We are all in on Battlefield." And I've got to tell you, man, this doesn't really sound like you're all in on Battlefield. And now all of a sudden we're seeing them close down studios? I mean, how much money does it cost to open a brand new studio in Seattle for 2 years, do all the branding and all of that stuff, and then just close it down again? It's got to be fairly expensive, right? Now, I dare say that Marcus, since he is, of course, an industry professional, he's a veteran, he probably will never divulge what happened between him and EA, and indeed that is between him and EA. So all we really can do is speculate on this, but I think it's fair to say that the Battlefield fanbase has been shaken with the release of the past few Battlefield games. Its trust in EA as a company is probably as low as you can get it, so every little thing that happens like this that undermines the trust of Battlefield players and how much faith they have in the development of the next game, it is never really a good thing. Now, Tom Henderson, who runs Insider Gaming, I'm sure many of you will be familiar with him. He seems to know a lot of industry insiders and gets inside information about various games, and that is the case with Battlefield as well. And he chimed in on this situation over on Twitter saying, ever since OG DICE started to leave Battlefield, it's been a cursed franchise, which sucks, but trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. At first glance, the next Battlefield game seems safe and predictable. Westy also chimed in here saying, I think it needs to be. The last safe game was Battlefield 4 in 2013, which consequently turned out to be one of the best games. Hardline in 2015 was a failure. Battlefield 1 in 2016 was a gamble that paid off. Battlefield 5 in 2018 was a miss. And 2042, well, we all know about that. Something extremely Battlefield is needed. And then Tom says, yep, sounds like they're going to a back-to-basics approach and playing it extremely safe. So it's not clear whether this is just speculation from Tom or whether he's actually drawing on information that he's heard from these insiders about the Battlefield franchise. I do think that is what they're going for. Of course, not long ago they published an article over on Insider Gaming, an exclusive, stating that the next Battlefield game will be set around the year of 2025 to 2030, pretty much another modern game. It was going to be back to basics, they were going to have classes, there was going to be more destruction, and it did indeed sound like they are playing it safe and giving the Battlefield fanbase exactly what they want. And normally I would say, well, of course that's what they're doing, that's what the community are asking for, that's what EA and DICE should do, but let's remember guys, this is EA we're talking about, and they don't often make the best PR or business decisions when it comes to Battlefield games. And while we are on the subject of that, here's a classic example. If we check over on the Battlefield Twitter, I saw this the other day. So it says, watch your favorite streamers play Battlefield 2042 Season 7 Turning Point early on Monday. And this appears to be taking place on the official Battlefield Twitch channel. But if we look at the video here, the only one of these 6 streamers that I recognize here is Squid G. All of the other 5, I can almost promise you, have never touched a Battlefield game in their lives, and it is probably going to be the most cringy thing you've ever seen. Now, I understand what DICE are trying to do here. They don't want to just get Battlefield streamers in there because their audiences are already playing Battlefield, right? They want to market the game to some audiences out there who are playing other games. So in that case, you want to get some of these streamers who are playing other games such as Call of Duty so that they can introduce Battlefield to their audiences and hopefully bring them over to Battlefield and lead to some more revenue for EA and some more players on the Battlefield. But this is just so obvious that they have thrown a bunch of money at these content creators just to promote the game, and you know how this is going to turn out because we've seen it before. Maybe a lot of you guys weren't around for this, but don't worry, I have videos for you.
This fly suit is fun. Oh gosh, except when I accidentally almost fly into the water. Woo! Okay.
Oh no, we are losing our
Going to D.
lead big time.
Watch this.
Where?
All right, let's see. Where are we going?
I'm gonna go for D1, I think.
What's happening in here?
Oh. You know, just a little. No, okay, just a little. You know, a little something.
All right.
I'm sorry, but this was the most cringe stream I've ever played. We're obviously watching people here, and this is nothing personal against any of these streamers. I'm sure they're all fantastic people and they have great audiences and all of that, but they obviously have no idea what they are doing on Battlefield. They don't have a clue how to play this game. They're just there for the money, and it is blatantly obvious, DICE, okay? And it's kind of funny if you go and read some of the replies to the tweet here. I won't tell you guys what I said because, well, DICE have hidden it, so apparently they found it that offensive. But almost everybody here is chiming in saying, you know, I'd rather watch Enders. What about putting some actual Battlefield streamers in there who know something about the game? I think it's going to be far more interesting as a viewer coming into a stream and watching somebody play who actually knows what they're talking about. Especially if it's going to be streamed over on the official Battlefield Twitch channel, right? Because then you're not even leveraging the audience of those people. I feel like they could have taken this money and thrown it at level cap, jack frags, Westy, and some old content creators who people actually remember, people who actually understand the game as well and can make some good content and comment on it, and who have audiences outside of the Battlefield audience. Or, you know, you could always throw a bone to your current batch of content creators who are actively covering the game and have been doing so for the better part of 2.5 years. But I digress. Anyway, I'm very much so looking forward to Monday. I am going to be checking in on that stream, seeing how it's going. I hope it pays off. I hope EA do pull in some new players, some new viewers, because that is good for all of us. But I just, you know, I mean, it's just so obvious. It's just so obvious what they're doing, man. I see through this, and I just hope to God that it isn't going to be as much of a cringe fest as the last one. Guys, as always, if you enjoyed the video today, even though it was a bit of a whiny one, I'll admit it, hit up the like button, subscribe as well, because on Tuesday, Season 7 is releasing, and we are going to be covering everything as soon as we unlock it via the Battle Pass, that is to say, in Season 7, so make sure you hit the sub button and maybe even that little bell icon down there as well, so you guys don't miss out on that. Oh yeah, if you're wondering what is happening with the Season 7.0 update, here is your video on all of the patch notes, but otherwise, I hope you guys have a cracking day, and I'll see you all in the next video.